bring up that sausage party thing one more time, there's another part of that story where reportedly over half of the animation team was let go, and apparently out of spite, those people were omitted from the credits from the final film.
Yeah.
So like these are people who worked on that film, Sausage Party, for at least a year, and then they quit either because of forced, overtime without pay.
Yeah, it's like...
Or just ridiculous expectations and just stressful working environments. They, some of them, over half the team, some of them stayed, but over half the team were like, you know what, I don't have to deal with this, to put up with this shit. I don't want to do this anymore. They left, and then the directors took that, apparently, as a personal attack, and then, out of spite, they were like, oh, well, you're not going to be listed in the final credit. They poured, over a year of their lives into this, trying to make it as good as they can. They couldn't even have that. Never mind the pay that they're not getting for all the overtime that they're spending there. They can't even have the credit, there to be able to say, I worked on that, I'm proud of that, look, my name is on it, I'm proud of that at least. They don't even have that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it definitely doesn't mean as much as a film, being on television, but, I've definitely not been credited on everything I've worked on.
Really?
And, again, it's so bizarre, because, sometimes it's some people, they're just omitted from the credits, and in many cases it's people just don't care at that point. It's hope they put my name on the next episode or whatever, but it's it's so bizarre. It's whoever put the credits together, it's why?
Get that right at the very least, yeah.
But in the case of Sausage Party, I'm sure that was a very conscious choice of omitting those names.
Yeah.
Which is
they're gonna leave, fuck them.
But it's no, definitely, if I were to work on a feature film, I have done a bit of work on a feature film, but since it was only a month of work, personally, I don't expect to be credited, but definitely if I did more than a month of work, it's I'd be insulted if I wasn't credited.
Mm-hmm. I think the only reason more people didn't leave that show is because I think they had a really good screenplay there for that film, for Sausage Party.
I don't want to kill the romance of it, but
I'm just kind of going by it's getting really good reviews. People are saying it's really laugh out loud funny, one of the funniest animated films to ever come out in a long time. And so it must have been a decent script, I figure.
Yeah, and another thing I heard, it's the director just threw shit at the wall until something stuck. So that's animation is the worst place for that to be a thing. I know, but it's I know what you're saying. It's I'm sure it helped that it was a great. It's oh man, I get to work on an R-rated movie, but at the same time, it's the reason a lot of people stick around. It's they need to pay the fucking bills.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what it comes down to. If I had a choice, every show I've worked on, it's if I had a choice, I gladly leave. I don't give a shit about most of the cartoons I've worked on. But unfortunately, I'm an adult. I need to pay my bills. I need to pay this student debt that's gonna take another decade. Hopefully not that long, but that's an unfortunate thing. It's the people who left Sausage Party, it's possible those people were unemployed for months at a time, right?
Yeah, just desperate for any kind of work, I guess.
Yeah, and it's and at the same time we're artists, we could be very mentally fragile.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of us that between contracts we're just depressed pieces of shit that can't we have no incentive to get out of bed.
Yeah.
So it's when you're unemployed it could be rough because it's oh man, am I gonna get work next week? Am I gonna get work in the next 6 months?
That's true, yeah.
That lack of security definitely is really rough.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I could bitch and moan all I want about work, and I've contemplated on leaving every contract I've been on, but at the same time, it's well, then I'm fucked after because I need that income, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's...
No, I totally get that. No, I see how that would be a factor. But I just think, considering who the script is coming from, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg.
Yeah.
I mean, they are good at what they do. I mean, they're doing that show Preacher now on TV, which is getting good reviews too, and that's pretty cool. But I mean, I just think, you know, aside from the money, and the job and having a job, which are obviously factors, it must have been a relief to like be working on a script that was at least tolerable, never mind good. I mean, I imagine most of the time you're working on scripts that are fucking dog shit.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that, is because, like...
That must be such a bummer. I mean, like, at the very least, like, give me a script I can see value in, and it's like, I'm excited to bring this to life. Because otherwise, if you get all these scripts that are just, like, shat out by some fucking freelancing douchebag... And it's like, you're supposed to get jazzed up about this?
Yeah.
Like...
It's like, no, I definitely agree, but at the same time, I come back to the Rick and Morty guys.
Yeah.
Really good fucking show, but a lot of those people...
But nonetheless, it's a terrible production experience. Yeah. Even if the writing is up there.
Yeah, so it's definitely... Again, every production is always different.
Yeah.
Like, some are going to be, like, a lot smoother sailing than others. So, you know...
I just imagine some of those animators, at least some of those animators on Sausage Party going like, well, I'm having a horrible time here. Yeah. I'm doing all this unpaid work, but this script is funny.
Yeah.
These scenes are funny. Like, the voice work and the character animation and the comedy is coming out. Like, it's fun to, like, watch what you've like created, like this scene. Wow, this is going to be great when it's in theaters. People are going to really like this. Yeah. You know, this is a film that is going to be remembered for a while, and it's like, I'm going to get to have my name on this. And it turns out half the animating staff, they didn't even get credit. Like, all that time they poured in, it's like, I get to be a part of this movie that's going to be really well received and really appreciated. It's going to be a part of pop culture.
Yeah, no, that definitely would be heartbreaking. And again, I work in television, but definitely, I can't say I have first-hand experience other than like a tiny bit of work in a feature animation, but it definitely would be nice to like lose yourself in, you know, quality over quantity as far as like animating shots for a feature film.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the more so it would be even more insulting to be not credited on something like that.
Yeah. To get a little out of the negative here, do you have, I know we've been going on for a while here, but do you have at least maybe one like uplifting story, something that happened at work where, you know, it was a good day at work, you know, which is not the norm, but, you know, it's like you went to work one day and you got something done, you're like, well, you know, that turned out pretty well, or that was a nice day at work. Do you ever have a day like that? Or is it always a nightmare?
The only thing that pops to mind is like actually very inappropriate. And like in a certain sense not related to work.
Oh really? Okay.
I'm
remember, I can cut this if you decide you don't want to say it later
on.
But if you think it's a good story, then definitely.
So I'll definitely
I can't wait to hear this now.
Like I think I may have told you this before, but
yeah.
So as animators, we are very disturbed people.
Yeah.
And on a lot of productions we work on, we sometimes like start a hidden folder on the network.
So like password protected, only you guys can access it?
It's just like in a really obscure spot where like production
some network drive somewhere that you all have access to.
Yeah, it's like we usually have like 20 network drives, right?
Right.
And mind you, it's just the animation department that does this.
Yeah.
I guess no one else has that pent up just rage and stuff, but
yeah.
We start.
That anger's got to go somewhere. It's got to be. It takes some kind of form.
Yeah, this anger and sexual frustration. But,
yeah.
We do this thing. It's called. We sometimes name it like the weird folder or whatever, but. How do I put this lightly? We sometimes just do really crude and lewd, just characters and like very pornographic.
Like the characters you're working on in the show that you're making? Yeah.
And like, you know, can be in...
Fucking each other in the ass and stuff?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just ridiculous, over-the-top shit, right? Like,
yeah, and like...
outrageous for the sake of being outrageous, just because you're just trying to get some frustration out.
Yeah, and... like in the past, like one show I was on, I had like little critter characters, but I was like really pissed off one day, so I just had the hedgehog just crucified on the cross and just like all bloody with like the crown of thorns and everything. Or like there was another one where I had already animated the shot, but like one of the monkey characters was just like up perched on a thing, like on a little like birdie perch in the background, and she's just like jerking off like furiously, and the camera's slowly panning in on this monkey as in the foreground there's this like big stereotype Russian bear talking as the camera's. But anyway, when I did that, the director of the show walked by and he was like, oh, he actually like started laughing and shit, and like me and the director, we actually like, I'm just like, oh yeah, here's some other funny shit I did, and me and him, we just like sat down and we went through this whole like pornographic gore fest folder.
You and the director of the show, really?
Yeah, me and the director of the show, and it felt good because it's like, sure, he's a director, but like just like me, he just doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
And like he even warned me, it's like, you should be careful with some directors and stuff. I was like, yeah, I'm aware, but so it's nice, like, you eventually have that person up there who, like, again, he started as an animator as well, so he's just as deranged and messed up.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's the one nice thing. It's like I'm one of those people who contributes the worst thing to those folders.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have someone higher up like appreciate it as well, and it's like, oh, someone as messed up as me can potentially, make my way along and not be, stuck in whatever grunt position I'm in.
Oh, totally. I mean, I listen to a lot of like film critics and like podcasts about film and stuff like that, and I hear a lot that it's the people who make really like horrible stuff in film and put really horrible stuff on camera and like animation or film or whatever, that you meet those people on their off time and they're like the nicest people ever. But when it comes to people who make these family friendly kind of big Hollywood movies that appeal to like the lowest common denominator, you meet those people on their off time, and they're like the worst kind of people that you don't want to associate with.
Yeah.
So it's the people who depict really messed up shit.
Yeah.
Those are the nice people that you want to hang out with.
I mean, like, I guess it's because like we find that output, we don't give a shit. It's like, in reality, we're all really messed up, fucked up people. But since taboos and stuff, it's like, oh, I need to be proper. I can't be like that. But
yeah.
So it like certainly helps,
Yep.
And oh man, I'm not even gonna mention the pony weird folder. That's that by far is the worst fucking.
It's like the Ark of the Covenant in the Raiders. Don't open it. Don't look away.
Like Jesus Christ.
Your face fucking melts off if you say.
Like, oh my god, it's like. Like that folder, some of it even I question. just because it's like, it's stuff bronies would be like right on the spot. They would whip it out and fucking start jerking off. It's like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ. Anyway.
Oh man.
I'm intoxicated, so no regrets.
Yeah.
Until later.
I think people need to know this shit, man. People need to be aware of like the frustration and aggression that goes on because of these horrible working environments. But like these studio owners and the guys with the money, they don't want any of this known. They want to keep this under wraps. They want to sweep everything under the fucking rug.
Like to them, they want it to be like a point A to B production. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, we got this idea. I mean, or whatever. We got this like production pitched to us, and we did it. Yep. Hooray!
Yeah.
It's like, that's it.
And hopefully nobody finds out that we lost half our fucking staff. Half the staff told us to fuck off and they left. But like at the end of the day, the movie did get made for $20 million, so then they can go on some big hotshot fucking Hollywood interview and be like, yeah, we're so fucking efficient and thrifty. Like, we know how to make a big budget movie for $20 million. That's nothing. We can do that easily.
Yeah, and we're gonna
be bragging about it.
Yeah, we're gonna be able to do it on $10 million next time.
Yeah, fuck.
And it's like, yeah, that's the disgusting thing. It's like, these people are, like, hopefully not in this case, but, like, people like this are rewarded for what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like...
And they're the ones who get the recognition. They're the ones who get to do these fucking big shot interviews.
Yeah,
they're the face of it.
That's the problem. It's like, productions are a huge fucking messy collaboration. But, yeah, in many cases, like, these people doing the interviews and stuff, like, they fucking had no part in it. Mm-hmm. Other than, like... fucking just making everyone else feel like shit.
Yeah.
But it's like it even feels insulting. Like I watched, I think it was like a Comic-Con thing with like the Rick and Morty writers, and like the entire panel, they're like, oh man, it's a great time. It's like, but like not a single mention of the animators or like the people slaving away at the studio.
Yeah.
Not a single mention. And it's like, sure, the show, it's good because of the writing, but at the same time, there wouldn't be a show without the animation.
They don't even want to acknowledge that department, because, like, they don't want to start unearthing, like, the terrible stories.
Yeah, and at the same time, like... I can't judge if the Rick and Morty writers are good or bad people. I've never met them. Mm-hmm. Like, they just might be oblivious to the case.
I think that is the case most of the time. But I think that was the case with Sausage Party. Like, Seth Rogen and the other writers, they had no idea this was
going on. Though, at the same time, these writers, they went with the lowest bid.
Right.
You also have to keep that in mind.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
So you know, it's hard to tell. It's like you've...
But that's like that's down to misrepresentation too. That's like them saying, "Oh, we'll do it for $20 million." Like, it's got the implication is like we're so efficient that we can get our studio is just ticking along so efficiently that we can do this for what's considered under budget.
Yeah,
no problem. But the real reality of it is that Nitrogen Studios, like, that was their first feature film that they ever worked on. And according to ex-employees that were coming forward in the anonymous comments in that article that came out, they were saying, like, the studio didn't even have a proper pipeline established. Like, it was just a fucking mess. Like, you need a pipeline. Like, that's priority number one.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, getting that fucking pipeline established, so it's like, this gets done by this party, and then the work goes there, and then they do the thing. It's like, figure all that shit out. And they didn't have that shit figured out.
And a lot of productions don't.
Yeah, too many of them don't.
Yeah, it's like, at the same time, it's like, I wonder if, like, would I be able to, like, sit down and, like, work a whole production out? But at the same time, like, I do have a generalist knowledge of, like, most of these steps, as opposed to, I guess, a lot of these higher-ups.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to tell. It's like, would I be able to do a better job? Could I make this world a better place? But, I don't know. It's frustrating.
Am I the hero the city deserves? This department.
But it's like, I've thought of, it's like, oh man, like, it would be cool if I could, like, run my own production and stuff. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to become one of these, like, cost-cutting douchebags.
Yeah.
I think my ideal dream project would be, like, a small team of, like, 5 people. If I were to run a project, I'd want to stick to, like, leading it in a creative manner.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to being like, okay, I'm gonna get used to these spreadsheets. It's like, Joe, you have to get this much done today. It's like, why the fuck haven't you? And like, I don't want to become that guy. Yeah. Like, as a creative, I want to be a creative lead, and I don't want to be, working on some, like, as a kid, I always wanted to be a movie director, but it's like, at the same time, like, I've grown to understand it more, and I definitely would be more content leading some short film or small indie game, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Reminds me of the role of first AD in film, where it's one of those jobs where it's like, the better you are at it, the more hated you are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can see that.
Because the people the kind of first assistant directors who keep things ticking along, they're the guys who are constantly on your case, saying, like, we got to get this, we got to move, You get one more take, okay, get this take and then we're moving on. I don't care. Just you're getting this take, so make sure you get it right. And yeah, man, it's such a shame.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, like, you know, as an artist, like, I have accepted and I do understand that you can't be without a deadline. Like,
no, yeah, it definitely helps to have
if you have no deadline, it's like you definitely, you know, as an artist, I'm never, like, sometimes even with, like, a drawing or something, I sometimes, I'm never satisfied with it. It's never done until I just call it quits and it's done.
You work on a shot for a long-ass time, and the fact of the matter is that you do reach a point of diminishing returns where it's like, you work on it to a certain degree, you know, and you meet the deadline, but if you didn't have a deadline and you had the opportunity to improve it a little bit, it might only be like 5% better.
And another thing, it's like, even if it became like Da Vinci levels of animation, like, no one's gonna fucking see the difference. That's the problem. If you're not a trained animator, you're not gonna be able to see the difference.
Yeah.
So it definitely needs to be that balance of, it's like, oh man, like, I want to spend a lot of time on this, but at the same time, like, I'm gonna develop as an artist, as an animator, if I'm gonna jump onto another shot, then jump onto another one, and, you know, and kind of pace it out. And, like, I know I don't like quantity over quality, but in a certain sense, when you do work in, like, the middle ground of, like, doing some quantity, like, it does definitely help, as opposed to just, like, slaving away at one shot and just, like, becoming stale in the brain. And you know. Anyway, it's, so let's discuss religion, John.
So, politics. We had our warm up, so let's get into some real heavy subject matter.
So how about that genocide?
So we did briefly. That was one of my things for later on, was your dream job, what you would like to be doing, and you talked briefly about that, and like making games and stuff like that. Unreal development kit has been available to download and free for a while, and we've been talking about collaborating on some kind of project on that. You know, kicking around, trying to figure out like what genre it would be in, like whether a first person or a third person exploration kind of game.
So you want to discuss that?
Not too much, but
just briefly touch on it.
Yeah, just briefly. I mean, it's really cool. I dicked around with the software a tiny little bit, and I can definitely see the potential in it. And the indie game scene, there's a lot of shitty indie games that are coming out.
And
but I think the reward of that, it's a good price to pay. Like, even though there's this flood of terrible content, you do get these diamonds.
Yeah, it's out. Like the way I see it is like, unfortunately, like, you know, the train has started going, and you know, it's not as, unfortunately, oh, there goes my beer. Unfortunately, it's not as easy to stand out, since, like, there is going to be a lot of shit submitted now.
Very oversaturated market now.
But at the same time, it comes down to, like, if you do something quality, like, I'm sure it's going to be noticed.
That's my philosophy too. Just like, do the best you can on it, and it will be recognized eventually. Just because people like good shit. People like good stories. People want to feel something at the end of the day. And that, I feel like that's, like, for animators, they get scripts in, and it's like, this isn't making me feel this script is dog shit. Like, I want to, if I'm going to invest my time animating something frame by frame painstakingly, I want the fucking script to be good.
And, like, and you still try. It's like, oh man, it's this fucking purple pony, but you still try and put yourself in this character of feeling friendship, despite how fucking stupid it is. Like, it's like, that's what we want to do. Like, that's, as an artist, it's like, that's what we want to do, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as games, like, my PC has been, like, over a decade old. It's right there.
Yeah.
My fucking Bumblebee.
It's probably deceptively old looking. Like, it's an old chassis that it's like an old cover.
Yeah. But
it has the covers, the outer shell of a very old looking computer.
Yeah, but it is over a decade old.
You got some sophisticated parts in there, surely, though, right?
Yeah, but, you know, it's NVIDIA and Windows decide to stop, you know.
Yeah.
updating software. But recently, like a month ago, I loaded a few grand onto my credit card to build a new PC.
Oh, nice.
Just because I seriously want to get into the Unreal Engine, so badly. But at the same time, I do need to find that time outside of work after those 12 to 15 hour days to actually sit down and work on content and game engine. And, as an artist, it would be quite an undertaking to be the one doing all the props, models, rigging, animation, environments, right?
Yeah.
So definitely, it would be definitely beneficial to have more than just a couple people on it.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about the indie game scene right now is the emphasis on storytelling.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, non-combat games coming out. It's a lot of, exploration games and character-driven games. And, I like that stuff. I mean, just because you're not constantly shooting Russians or terrorists, doesn't mean it can't be a good game.
Russian Muslim terrorists.
Whatever the fuck, yeah.
No.
Whatever bad guy
I'd actually want to keep this for a future podcast.
Yeah. No, totally, yeah.
Because, there's so much to discuss. I personally, I don't want to become a game developer. I see games as a new medium that hasn't been explored for storytelling.
Totally, yeah.
But at the same time, what worries me is a lot of critics and stuff when you have a cool game like Watchtower or whatever, Firewatch,
I think.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but it's people are just oh yeah, it's just a walking simulator.
Yeah, that's dumb.
And that worries me because the core group of gamers, they're gonna cling on to their it's not a game, it's just a walking simulator.
Yeah, it's an experience. It should be gauged on that, right? I mean,
so I'm definitely one reason I'm excited for VR, because if that becomes mainstream, it's that's what a lot of experiences have to be.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have the Twitch gameplay fidelity of a Doom if you're in a fucking VR headset, right?
Right.
So it definitely is gonna have to step back from the fine, accurate aiming and all that. So I'm hoping it does start and push the trend towards more storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I know, is it Rocksteady that do the Batman games?
Yeah.
I recently heard
Telltale's just done their own Batman game too, I think.
No, and
Telltale is one of the only mainstream developers who focus on storytelling that I can think of.
Yeah. Though the Rocksteady guys who did the Batman games, they're doing a VR thing, but rather than just having a small team on it, they put the whole fucking studio on it, as far as I know.
Awesome.
And from hearing some game journalists, they're doing a Batman VR detective game, and it sounds amazing.
Makes you feel like Batman, not just in the sense of beating cracking heads, but being an actual detective.
So
Batman in the true sense of the word, when Bob Kane first created the character.
So stuff like that just makes me so excited. It's having a big developer putting all their resources in a outright storytelling experience. So definitely we'll have to see how that goes, and perhaps we can delve into some more discussion about the VR.
Yeah, I'd love to do a show on games. Yeah, that'd be great. To start wrapping things up here, what got you into animation in the first place? Is there a particular game or movie or cartoon that you saw in your youth that inspired you and you made you think, this is what I want to do for a living, I really like this?
Yeah, so I did mention briefly, as a kid I did want to be a film director, but I'm one of those people who it's so hard to put my finger on ooh, what's my favorite movie or what's my favorite cartoon.
Yeah.
I actually,
There's just so much out there now.
Yeah, it's even when there's a movie, it isn't excellent, but it's there's some aspect of it, it's oh man, that's so good. I wish the whole movie was like that. But there's just so much, and I think I just always gravitated towards visual storytelling.
Yeah.
And despite I'm an animator, like, I would eventually like to fund my own short films, live action.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I don't want to, like, you know, pigeonhole myself into, like, a corner of one medium, one tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's, again, we mentioned games. I just want to explore storytelling with all sorts of mediums. Like, I want to be an experimenter, an explorer.
Yeah.
So I'm not one of those, you know, film snobs that's like, oh, this is the one way to do it. No, it's like, I want to explore. I want to experiment in film.
I think a lot of people in this industry want to be versatile. They don't want to be just good at one very particular facet.
Yeah, and that's another irony of the...
You do well in one aspect, but then you get tied to that. It's like, well, he can only do that thing. And then you're like, well, no, I can do other stuff as well. No, you do that thing, because that's you now.
No, unfortunately, like, that's an irony, is like, if they want a pipeline in a studio running, it's like, we want you to do this one fucking thing. Even though it's like you might be more qualified for a certain, like, higher up side position. It's like, this guy comes out, he's like, oh, you do this and this, and then you could be like, actually, you fucking do this, it's better. But it's like, oh, but you have no say in it because, oh, you're the animator, you don't do this.
Yeah.
So, no, it's an irony, unfortunately, because I guess a production is never versatile enough for, like, everyone to be at their maximum potential.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's again, another good reason I'd love to work on a smaller production. Because each individual is going to contribute in a higher, you know, certain sense, if you think of it. Rather than, like, okay, this is the production line, we need you doing this one fucking thing, and just shut your mouth about everything else. You know?
Yeah. One of my earliest recollections of, like, a cartoon movie that really stuck with me. Well, there's a few. The first one was The Great Mouse Detective. Did you ever watch that?
Well, yes, obviously.
I had that on VHS. I used to watch that over and over and over again. I just had, like, looking back on it, it's not really that fantastic of a movie, but it really has its charm. And it's one of those movies that really stuck with me and made me really appreciate animation. Well, a better example is The Fox and the Hound. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie, man. And there's moments in that movie that, I mean, it's a cartoon, but it feels so grown up at the same time. Like, you start off seeing this character, Todd, who's, like, getting raised, and it starts off as a very kind of kid-friendly, you know, happy-go-lucky kind of Disney movie. And it gets into these really serious themes of, like, friendship, and there's some undertones of, how would you describe it? There's, like, race relations. There's an argument there between, like, the dog and the fox, and it's like, we are these animals, so, you know, we're born enemies. Like, you know, there's no other option. Like, we're gonna have to be, like, ripping each other's throats out when we're adults.
Yeah.
You know, they're friends as kids, Todd and Copper. They befriend one another, and then they grow up, and then Copper becomes the dog who hunts foxes. And then, like, all of a sudden, like, Todd grows up and he's abandoned in the woods, and he has to, like, grow up and find, like, a mate. And then, you know, he's got to protect her, and then, like, the dog and the dog's owner are, like, hunting him down ruthlessly and smoking out his foxhole and shit like that. And then there's this moment right at the very end where, like, there's that bear fight, and then Todd is, like, wounded, and the guy goes up to him for the killing shot, but one of the dog chief, or Copper, comes in and stands in his way and just looks at him. And they just exchange these stares, and the guy lowers his gun, walks. I'm like, that's some deep shit, man. Like, that hit really fucking hard.
I know, and this is one big thing that frustrates me with the perception of animation is, even Disney said animation is for everyone. He doesn't aim it for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, animation was originally...
That's a poisonous way to think about it, to think that animation is strictly for children and you can't tell meaningful stories through it.
It's so frustrating because, like, at the same time, if you do aim it at children, don't treat them like fucking retards.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is because we're working on kids shows, it's like, oh, you need to make it as simplistic and idiotic as possible just so they understand it. It's like, fuck, it's just like Fox and the Hound. It's, yeah, holy shit, like, some stuff still, you know, still stick out, some of those moments, and...
Yeah.
Man, I've seen so many of those animated films so many times, and...
Yeah.
Just,
It's that movie in particular is just filled with moments that hit me harder than any live-action movie ever did. And I'm like, wow, like, animation can pull this off. That's amazing.
No, it's for kids, and you're just a fucking idiot.
Oh, yeah, oops, sorry, everybody.
It's just a
My
cartoon.
bad. Yeah.
It's just a cartoon animal.
Yeah, can't ever be nominated for awards or anything like that because it's not serious film like live action. It's got to be, if it's gonna win an award, it has to be live action. It's got to be about the Holocaust or somebody with a disability.
and this is another thing most people don't know, but there's a lot of like pioneer methods that animation did before film, and film stole from animation.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
For example, like storyboards, Alfred Hitchcock actually like outright stole that from Walt Disney.
The act of storyboarding?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was some like live action behind the scenes Walt Disney needed to film. I can't remember for which animated film, but it was one of Hitchcock's cameramen that got sent over there. Mm-hmm. And he's like, holy shit, what is this on the wall? Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, well, we planned it out. We want this shot, this shot, this shot. And the cameraman's mind was just blown. He's like, holy fuck, you thought of this beforehand?
Yeah, so it's just a new thing. Like,
and it's like, in animation, that's common sense. It's like, you can't just jump into animation. It's like, so, and like, that's just an example. Like, animation, unfortunately, again, it's, you know, portrayed as, a child medium, but, like, there's just so much sophistication in there, and so much to be explored, and Sausage Party, or whatever, like, Sausage Fest, it may be, like, a juvenile full of, like, raunchy dick jokes and stuff, but at the same time, I hope it does encourage more R-rated animated films. Mm-hmm. I don't want all my R-rated animated films to be like dick jokes and stuff, but it's
You know what? I think there are going to be more R-rated animated features, but I think studios are going to take it the wrong way. They're going to be like, oh, people just want swear words and stuff and nudity.
And I think like Deadpool is a good example.
Yeah,
as
that's
far as, like,
very good example.
It's like this movie works really well because it like portrayed the character properly and stuff, but it's like, yeah, studios are gonna take it the wrong way, so they're like, oh, so we need to make superhero movies like raunchy and shit.
Yeah.
It's
taking away completely the wrong thing. I mean, the swear words are not what made Deadpool successful.
No.
It's completely different things. It's like that. I mean, that actor, first of all, Ryan Reynolds, was a good choice for that. And he was clearly a fan of the source material.
Yeah, that definite. And the director of that film was actually an animator.
I read about that. Yeah. He had his own studio, and he did all his visual effects in-house, and they were very good, too.
I know, it's... So, yeah, that... Deadpool, good example of...
And it was just a pretty good movie, like a simple story.
Wait, we watched that together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a simple story told well.
Yeah, me and John, we went on a gay date on Valentine's Day to see that.
Yeah.
But anyway. But no, it's, unfortunately, when something comes out that works, it's fucking studio execs aren't gonna fucking understand why it works. Mm-hmm. They're just like, oh, this made this much money.
They chase numbers, yeah. They look at numbers. They just look at constant spreadsheets. And they look at a number increases and they're like, oh, that's doing well. And then they just take the wrong things.
Yeah, and just like an example, I haven't watched it, but like the Batman Killing Joke, there's an animated thing for it, and
I watched that, yeah.
And it made a fuck ton of money for what it was and how limited it was, but yeah, it made a lot of money. It's like, guys, you need to understand, like, there's an audience for it.
Yeah.
And
see, the important thing about that was it wasn't about, oh, let's make a Batman movie where we can say the word fuck and bitch and shit and stuff like that.
Batman's dick hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. The point of it was, like, that was the only real way to tell that story correctly, was to have the language barrier off limits and to be able to depict certain things that are disturbing, because that is what is true to that story. Like, it's like considered the ultimate origin story for the Joker, so it needs to be something really hard-hitting, right? In order to give that villainous character justice.
Yeah, I just want those mature themes in animation. I crave for it. Mm-hmm. I have ideas of my own, but definitely, I have to flush them out and collaborate on said ideas. But it's not for kids. It doesn't have to be for kids.
Yeah, what I've realized over the years, doesn't matter if it's film, doesn't matter if it's animation, doesn't matter what the characters are, doesn't matter if they're human, doesn't matter if they're animals, doesn't matter if it's meant the target audience is for kids, if it's for adults. What really is at the heart of it is the story each time. And the story needs to be good, and it needs to make you feel things and understand things about life, and have you leaving the theater with a new kind of sense of perspective, saying, well, you know what, that movie really taught me something.
Yeah.
Even if it was a children's animated, like Fox and the Hound, man, that movie hit me so fucking hard to the point where I still think about it, to this day. And I think it's especially important in children's media above all else, because it's like...
kids are fucking retarded. We can't give them...
They will be fucking retarded if we keep force-feeding them this bullshit that panders to them.
I know, and it's the irony, because stuff, in a certain sense, is getting dumber and dumber.
Yeah.
It's, anyway, sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine, but, it's all children's media needs to fucking play it safe all the time, and you can't go into mature themes in children's media.
No, we just need to give them seizures.
Yeah. But it's the children who need that most of all, is for their media to go into uncomfortable territory and, help them digest that in a way that, they can connect with.
Yeah,
That's what Fox and the Hound did for me, because, I'm empathizing with this, Kid Fox part, but then the second half of the movie, it's Todd's grown up, he's thrown, abandoned in the wilderness, and he's left to fend for himself, and it's it feels so grown up after that point.
And
it makes you think as a kid, oh man, there's a real ugly reality out there that I gotta be prepared for. Yeah, that's a good message to spread to kids.
And I think the movies that stick with me the longest are the ones where when I rewatch, it's just as relevant, or I get something new from it.
It's universal themes that can be applied at any time.
I may not have fully understood the movie as a kid, but I just felt there's something there.
Yeah.
And as I watch it as I'm older, it's holy shit, you just keep it's like an onion, you keep, peeling more layers of it.
Yeah.
That's so yeah, just you guys give us a bunch of money and we'll direct a R-rated porno Holocaust movie that's animated, and it's
lots of F-bombs,
and it's gonna teach your kids to be millionaires.
All right, last thing, do you have any advice for listeners who might be aspiring animators who want to be like you, who do the thing that you do? Do you have any passing words of wisdom that you want to pass along to them?
I've bitched plenty about industry, and it's kind of hard to solve that, but at a fundamental level, I think the most important thing is fucking draw every day.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be oh man, I need to perfect this one sketch or whatever, because it's at the end of the day, it's gonna look like shit if it's the first drawing you've done, right?
Right.
So I think one challenge that's nice to do is one sketch a day. Literally keep it up for years. Mm-hmm. It's all about persistence. There's no fucking magic button. Sometimes sometimes people come up to me. It's oh, I want to be good at art like you. It's well, I spent the last 25 years doing it. It's no, but I want to be good like you right now. It's well, too fucking bad. It doesn't work like that.
Gotta work your ass off to
people
get to
are point. Oh man, you're so lucky you have the talent. It's I earned it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to with a lot of skill. It's persistence. You're always gonna think your stuff is bad, but that's what keeps you pushing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh man, this sketch looks like shit. Well, then move on and draw another one, because like eventually you keep improving. And animation, again, it's a lot about strong poses and watch a lot of films, read a lot of books, just to help you get into the mind of characters. And it's a very generalist view of the world. It's just experience life, draw everything from life, including dangly schlongs of 80-year-old men.
Yeah.
It's just appreciate life before you put a bullet in your head.
Great. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. You heard it here, folks. Don't kill yourselves. Yeah, and I would say the same thing for any writers there who are listening. I mean, the only reason I got to the position I'm at is because I wrote shit for like at least 5 years before I started, churning out scripts that were actually any decent. I mean, not even, like, more than that. I mean, I didn't feel like I plateaued in my skills until way, way late in my career. And for a lot of that time, I just sucked. And just because you suck doesn't mean you should stop. You just, if you want to do something, you don't need anybody to tell you to do it. Like, you'll do it on your own. Just keep doing it, and don't let anybody tell you that, it's your stuff sucks so bad that you should never keep trying. You should always keep trying and trying to if it's something you really want to do, if you have a creative itch to do that, if you wouldn't get paid to do it and you want to do it, like, just keep doing it until you are good at it. It's as simple as that. All right, so we're wrapping up this podcast now. Before I close it, do you have anything you want to plug? Do you have any channels? Do you have something on YouTube? Maybe a DeviantArt page, some kind of funding thing that you're doing? Do you have anything, links you want to share?
Yeah, I have my DeviantArt page where I post my Little Pony porn. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Unfortunately...
Unrestricted access to the weird folder.
No, unfortunately, I haven't had much time to leave a footprint on the internet, but anything I do in the
must
future...
really be frustrating.
Yeah, no, it is. Unfortunately, it's like...
You pour all this energy into, like, animating dog shit scripts, but you have all these great ideas of your own.
Yeah,
and you just
like,
don't have the time to pour them.
I started, like, a Tumblr art blog, like, a year ago, and I just haven't, like, posted anything on there. But,
yeah.
When I do get that rolling, it's all gonna come down to my Twitter, and that's where I'm gonna tweet all this artsy shit and goodies. So yeah, my Twitter is @LemurGimmick.
All lowercase?
Yeah, all lowercase.
No spaces?
No spaces.
Lemur, Gimmick, 2 M's, right?
Yeah, 2 M's. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna definitely, hopefully, post more doodles and stuff on there, and eventually branch out to some more elaborate stuff. But
were you serious about the DeviantArt page? Do you have a username on it?
Actually, no. That was a joke. I personally think DeviantArt is a joke. So much fucking shit anime art on there.
Furry porn.
It's not even. I think it's mostly like anime or photographers. When it's like some guy with a shitty SD camera, like, taking photos of his dick, and he calls it... I'm not even kidding. This is my experience on DeviantArt. Just like the homepage of recent things, and it's just like a snuff film photo of just like a guy's dick with like a shoelace, like, choking it off. It's like this. I'm not even kidding. This is art. My dick is bleeding for you.
Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Post your own dicks. Excited to hear what you guys think. Smiley face. Did people comment on that? Like, cool, man. This is awesome.
Radical penis, man.
Yeah. Thumbs up. You just got a follow from me. Yeah. Tune in for my live streams. See my dick on video. Alright, so Twitter, that's about it for you. That's no other social media channels?
I've got plenty dick pics on there.
You don't have a YouTube channel or anything?
I do by the same name, but I definitely haven't.
No, not much on there.
Not for years, but definitely that's something I want to update.
Take pictures of your dick and tie a rope around it, a shoelace.
No, I do a video tutorial.
Yeah, with you in front of some white background. Hey guys, here with another tutorial video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Alright, let's get to it. Tying shoelaces around your dick and balls until it's like purple.
Fucking blue, and it pops. Gets on camera and... Jesus Christ. Internet. We're all fucked up. Embrace yourself.
I think everybody's caring less and less, which I kind of like.
But then there's third world countries. And... Oh yeah, and there's like the big flood in the States right now, and some guy blamed his house flooding on the homosexuals.
Oh my god. Like it's some biblical punishment?
Yeah, like Jesus Christ, this is the States!
Yeah.
And some guy is blaming a flash flood on the gays. Just Jesus fucking Christ. Please, someone just execute this man.
This is on you, gays. You hear that? Stop flooding people's houses. You just gotta like other guys with no thought of the houses that you're flooding. Gotta be ashamed of yourselves.
You're making baby Jesus cry.
Yeah, remember, straight is the way of God and white is right. That's really what you're trying to say, Daniel, right? At the end of the day, white is right and don't be gay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, if that does it for the plugs, then I'm going to now close this show. Do you have anything else to add? You think we're good?
Butt plugs.
Butt plugs?
Yeah.
Don't forget butt plugs. You're selling them on your,
No, I just have video tutorials. I actually don't know what the fuck butt plugs are for, but we'll leave that for another podcast.
Do you actually have any video tutorials that you have uploaded for stuff? Like, have you done anything like that, or?
No. It's, I've, like, nuked a lot of my content, so...
Oh, fair enough.
Embarrassing.
Alright guys, that does it for the See Me After Class podcast. Thanks everybody for listening. Here come my plugs. Check out my website, imaginativelogo.com. My YouTube channel is John CJG. I have a SoundCloud account, John CJG-420-69-420. I only did that because they took my fucking John CJG username. These fucking guys that go onto like popular websites and just use my username, and then I try to make an account in the same fucking website.
Yeah,
it's like, no, you can't. This guy already did it.
Yeah, I've had to bribe some kid for lemur gimmick before with Halo art. Just Jesus Christ.
Oh my god, holding it hostage.
Draw me
you gotta play Halo with me.
Draw me some Master Chief.
Oh yeah. You can follow me on Twitch at JCJGraham. I do streams and commentaries on there. My Twitter is at JCJGraham. And I got a Facebook studio page. You can go to facebook.com/JohnCJG and check that out. Subscribe, follow, whatever the fuck. Alright, thanks for listening. That's the end of the podcast. And see you next time. Stop beating off.
It's my own fucking house, bro.